Good afternoon to all our listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We're happy to be on again for yet another Sunday. It's a little bit overcast, maybe the African dust, but another beautiful Sunday afternoon in Grenada. Well, what we're going to be doing today is to share with you a rebroadcast of the Labor Day message as delivered to workers on Labor Day by Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph. She's the Attorney General, Minister of Labor and Consumer Affairs. So we'll share this with you. And we would also share with you a press conference which was held on Friday. Very important press conference that we thought of bringing to your attention. It deals with the Land Tenure Regularization Program. Now, what is land tenure regularization? This has to do with a promise made by the National Democratic Congress Party during the elections to persons occupying government lands whom have not yet gotten their title deeds. This effort is to bring some sort of fruition to this vexing problem which existed for many, many years. So, persons who have been occupying government lands for years, whom have not been able to receive their title documents, this program you ought to listen to, which will guide you as to the process government is now enabling to afford you to receive that title. Another promise made, another promise kept. So, back with you in a moment as we commence today's episode with Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph. Back in a moment.
The date is set. Saturday, May 11th. The venue locked. Elton Place, Linwood Street, Brooklyn. He is coming. They are coming. If you missed it last year, brace yourself because it's gonna be epic. Spice Mass New York Launch 2024. The biggest and most exciting artists out of Grenada comes to Brooklyn for the launch of Spice Mass. It's Love Man. Boise, Worst Ways, Talprey, The Hitman Inspector, Brandy Isaac, Hello, Kush, Mr. Legs, I somehow when I smoke I like to drink, Mr. Golden. And for the first time in New York City, Super Flying Flint. Welcome to this party. And Grenada's 2023 Road Match, Temptress and Rabulas. Plus, the Greenhouse drummers in full effect. Early bird tickets cost $40. Regular $50. Get them now online from GoToFact.com. In New York, get your tickets from Mike at Proper Fix Barbershop in Grid. On East 96 between Church and Wilmer. Fish, 59th East 95th Street between Rockland and East New York. West Cuisine, 916 Claxton Avenue between East 53rd and 54th Street. La Bay Market, 1127 Nostrand Avenue, 718-221-0395. Shonda at Spice Up Market, 899 Claxton Avenue, or call 718-730-4443. Spice Mass Launch New York Edition 2024. It's a jam movie in the making. Saturday, May 11th.
Thank you for joining the Heartbeat today. Here now is Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph as she delivers the Labor Day message to workers on Labor Day in Grenada.
Workers of Grenada, happy May Day. I enjoyed the march this morning. I will stand on the protocol already established, except allow me to acknowledge the presence of the President of the Trades Union Council, Brother Andre Lewis, and also to recognize and to welcome our delegation from the International Labour Organization, headed by Dr. Johnny Masubayana. Director of ILO Decent Work Team and Office for the Caribbean. And permit me to share, Doctor, that you and your team are here in Grenada on the invitation of the Ministry of Labor and Workers. That is how serious we are as a government in advancing workers' rights and interests. I want you to know that in this struggle, we are partners. I greet you all on behalf of our beloved Prime Minister. I say beloved confidently because I saw the love you gave him this morning on the streets. Yes, I know. On behalf of Comrade Deacon Mitchell, the Cabinet of Ministers, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labor, the Labor Commissioner, and everyone. And on my own behalf, of course, I wish you a happy day, and I trust that you enjoy the rest of the day. I am extremely happy and honored that you have invited me here today to celebrate with you in commemoration of International Workers' Day in this golden jubilee year of our nation, under the theme, recognizing labor's contribution to building our nation over the past 50 years, as we move forward with renewed vision and hope. To my comrades in the labor movement, this administration takes the opportunity to congratulate you on a theme well chosen and to reaffirm our commitment to working with you to build and advance the lives of workers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. And as we like to say, Petite Martinique, Carriacou, and Grenada. The theme recognizes your sterling contribution to our nation since independence and reflects the current atmosphere of stability, peace, hopefulness, and optimism, which allows us to confidently look forward with vision and purpose. And we would like to keep it that way. To the workers of this nation, past and present, we thank you for your service to Grenada, especially in the last 50 years. The government is proud to say that we continue to stand for you in ways that no other administration has done in the past. You heard it from your own union leaders here. Very rare would you hear unions congratulating governments on May Day. This shows that we have outperformed all others in the past. We have done in the last 20 months quite a lot to benefit workers, and in so doing, we have been deliberate and purposeful. We have been deliberate and purposeful in enacting legislation and implementing policies and programs aimed at achieving a just, equitable, prosperous, and sustainable society for all. Sisters and brothers, bear with me for a moment as we take a look back on the gains of the past year. Last year when I stood here, I promised you that we will implement minimum wage, new minimum wages by 1st January 2024. In keeping that promise, we hit the ground running on 1st January 2024 when the new minimum wages order came into effect. A legal requirement, brothers and sisters, that was ignored, indeed breached by previous governments for 12 long years. And in reality, that was only one government, if we are to be truly honest. Of course, our predecessor. The government, brothers and sisters, adjusted minimum wages for several categories of mostly vulnerable workers, including security officers, cleaners, caregivers, construction workers, hospitality workers, and clerical workers. We went a step further, brothers and sisters, and included new categories in the minimum wages order, such as call center workers, sanitation workers, and the all-important Fourth Estate media workers. Additionally, brothers and sisters, there was equalization in the minimum wages across gender, a historic movement towards ensuring that our women receive equitable compensation for their work, just as men and vice versa. And again, making sure that the law, which was actually on the books but not complied with, for equal pay, for equal work, is fully applied across all sectors. Brothers and sisters, you will observe in 2023 a number of amendments were made to the NIS law. All these changes were necessary to safeguard the fund for the benefit of all contributors. And indeed, these changes were recommended since 2016, and nothing was done. The fact is, if these changes did not come into effect, the fund would die in 2035. But in addition, on 1st May 2023, the National Insurance Unemployment Benefit came into force. This benefit, for the first time implemented in this country, is paid to registered members, registered contributors who are unemployed or self-employed and would have lost their jobs through no fault of their own. Since the introduction of this benefit, it has helped 204 persons at a value of $367,780. Give your government a round of applause, brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters, in 2023, government, through the government negotiating team, signed collective bargaining agreements for all public sector unions and welfare associations, prospectively, not retroactively as you're accustomed to, and without disrespect to workers, protest, and unrest. And of course, without your government reneging on anything. In fact, in the words of the president of the Public Workers Union, Brother Grimes, and I quote, "The negotiations of this collective agreement was clothed in respect and was a tremendous victory for the union, the workers, and for Grenada." Brothers and sisters, comrades all, this is your government working for you from the mouth of your own trade union leader. The negotiations also resulted in the first fringe benefits agreements reached in over 10 years. That included, and I quote Brother Grimes again, some ground-breaking elements. Brothers and sisters, this historic milestone underscores the government's efforts to foster productive partnerships with all workers as we strive to improve compensation packages, working conditions, and productivity. We look forward to these partnerships growing from strength to strength as we move Grenada forward. Brothers and sisters, the government continues to demonstrate that we say what we do and we do what we say. The negotiated salary increases, fringe benefits, and increments for 2024, as Brother Jude Bartholomew just told you, was honored and paid for already. The value being, brothers and sisters, $1,119,374.11. Give your government a round of applause, don't be shy. Brothers and sisters, this government continues to honor its commitment to regularize public workers. And Brother Grimes, a word of caution. When you speak, research first. Because we do what we say, and we say what we do. We make promises, and we keep them. Because the days of mamagairi and tomfoolery and bubble, those days are over. You have new kids on the block now whose word you can take. We're not signing any agreement just before election and then reneging. We're doing everything now because our interest is the workers. So in case of regularization of workers, brothers and sisters, here are the facts. The Department of Public Administration continues to implement the regularization framework which was developed to ensure that the process is fair and transparent. Regularizations have occurred across the public sector and will continue until all categories are attended to. As Brother Grimes said, 300 were promised in the first phase. And here are the facts. To date, the first phase was completed. We promised 300. We did 298. 187 mainstream public workers. And as you heard it from Brother Bartholomew, 111 teachers. Brothers and sisters, by any formula, by any scoring formula, that will give us an A. Brothers and sisters, my government has once again demonstrated its commitment to education. We all know that through education, most of us were able to improve our economic station in life. For years, brothers and sisters, we witnessed the protests in the hot sun and the pouring rain by the TAMCC staff for salary increases that were denied them since 2016. This caring government, since coming into office, paid the TAMCC workers $602,089.90, retroactive for 2017 to 2022. Remember, we came into office in 2022. And for 2023 and 2024 so far, we've paid $1.2 million for salary increases. We encourage the union to enter into negotiation agreement for a collective bargaining agreement, negotiations with the Council of TAMCC. Brothers and sisters, we don't only look after workers who are unionized because we are afraid the union's going to come after us. We look after everyone because we care about all our people and all our workers. So that, brothers and sisters, when we implemented the measures to benefit workers in this year, 2024, we included the Imani trainees who, as far as we are concerned, are workers. We commenced the process of granting Imani trainees public sector or public service commission contracts. And we continue to regularize, as we continue the regularization process, they are included. We are left out, you are not left out, Imanis, contrary to what you are told. As a caring government, we have adjusted the minimum stipend for Imanis so that it aligns with the new minimum wage. This resulted in government putting an additional $14 million in the hands of the young Imani workers, brothers and sisters, $14 million into their hands with this adjustment. I pause here to remind you, brothers and sisters, lest you forget. Those who claim to be for the poor and vulnerable had thousands of young Grenadians enrolled in the Imani program and receiving $600 and $700 a year, some for up to 10 years unchanged. I remind you also that you must not listen to what others say. Instead, you must pay attention to what they do. And be not afraid. Do the same for this government, because we are confident when we do what we say, and we say what we do. So you can watch and you can listen. Another big step forward for the Imani in this government is that we have commenced payment of the NIS contributions, the employer contributions, and we have also sorry, brothers and sisters. We are saying that we have commenced payment of the NIS contributions for Imanis and persons who hold contracts for service. This was never done before. Brothers and sisters, let's talk a little bit about pension, because we had to get real. Let's talk pension. Listen carefully, because all kind of craziness is being said. Brothers and sisters, this NDC administration is committed to sustainable wage bill management and to fostering a happy, optimistic, productive, and efficient workforce. Key to achieving this is the issue of pension reform. Based on certain employment practices that we inherited, certain groups were denied of any pension at all. And so they would work for years and leave the public service without a pension. The pension reform that we propose will address this issue while, listen to me, while ensuring that pension for existing permanent employees is secured. The Pension Review Committee has made significant progress in designing a new pension plan, considering key factors raised in consultations with stakeholders. This administration has already allocated $1.6 million to this new contributory pension plan, which will guarantee a pension for government workers who previously did not qualify for pension. Brothers and sisters, this government does not only care about improving your economic status in the present, but is also ensuring that after you have made your contribution to nation building and retired, you can live comfortably. I want to address some information that is said about pension, even misinformation you might call it. Recently said, no one is going to lose their pension. Workers who are already confirmed in the public service, your pension is secured. We all know, and it is one of the things we all agree on, that pension reform is unavoidable. Right? Pension reform is unavoidable because the scheme we currently have cannot be sustained in the long run. We have been there before. We're not going back there. We were there between 1983 and 2022. We have restored pensions, and we are not going back. Brothers and sisters, we have also attended to several matters of occupational safety and health, which one of the union leaders mentioned. I think it was Brother Grimes. Enhancing your work environment, air conditioning in the ministerial complex, tiling, painting, and doing some major renovation works at the financial complex. Government has made a commitment to implement occupational safety and health policy and legislation during this term in office. I am happy to announce that the ILO has made a commitment to provide technical assistance to the Department of Labor to ensure that we achieve this objective. And two, brothers and sisters, we are in the advanced stages with the help of the Labor Advisory Board, of which you are represented, to bring it into force a new labor code. And yes, Brother Grimes spoke to the labor code that was passed since 2016 and not brought into force. With some very critical amendments, we will bring this new labor code into force. And these critical amendments will include paid paternity leave, a first for our country and for our men, and also an extension of maternity leave for women to 14 weeks in accordance with the ILO and UN standards. Also, a new dispute resolution mechanism will be introduced. Brothers and sisters, with all these achievements and milestones, we are happy to be now enjoying a period of industrial peace and stability. As we celebrate our golden jubilee as a nation, the time is apt to enter a new era of progress and upliftment. We want this peace and stability to endure and to represent a permanent shift in the way the tripartite arrangement interact with each other. This cultural shift will also allow for us to focus on improving other areas that were neglected in the past. And that is what your government has been doing already. In so doing, brothers and sisters, we are committed to strengthening the Ministry of Labor. We have, since last year when I spoke to you, appointed a new Deputy Labor Commissioner in the person of Ms. Connie McQuilkin. This is the first time we have a Deputy Labor Commissioner in 11 years. And we have added additional staff, including a senior labor officer. With the support of the ILO, we have committed to strengthening our legislative and institutional framework to better serve you in the areas of dispute resolution, labor inspection, employment services, occupational safety and health. Brothers and sisters, on March 15, coinciding with the launch of the Consumer Affairs Office, the Department of Labor launched a satellite office in the town of St. George. The launch of this office has proven to be convenient for many, saving them time, thank you, and expense in dealing with their problems relating to labor. We've also launched a new website, another first. This was done in December. This website is a one-stop shop for all labor-related information, and I invite you to visit the website. There you will find labor laws, policies, services offered by the Department of Labor, links to our tripartite partners and stakeholders, frequently asked questions, and you may, through the website, also submit labor complaints and receive virtual responses. We intend to enhance and strengthen our digital presence as we continue to transform and enhance service delivery. I am pleased to announce that the Department of Labor has also been able to re-establish our relationship with the International Labor Organization. This renewed relationship will ensure that we meet our obligations as a member state and benefit from the technical and other support available to build our capacity to serve you better. As we rebuild this relationship, I am very pleased to share with you, brothers and sisters, that this year, Grenada will have a delegation attending the International Labor Conference. Brothers and sisters, listen to this carefully. The last time a delegation from Grenada attended the International Labor Conference, which, by the way, is an obligation we have under the treaty, was 25 years ago. 25 years ago. And we will be there this year. Dr. Musa Bayana, I take this opportunity to again thank you for being here with us today. A demonstration of your commitment, yours and your team's commitment to provide the technical support to advance the promotion of social justice, decent work, and inclusive economic growth and development for all Grenadians. At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I can't resist but to share with you that our research shows that this is the first visit of an ILO director to Grenada. So let us give the ILO mission a warm Grenadian welcome once more. And guys, just stand up so the workers can see who you are if you don't mind. The mission is there. Thank you very much. First, we're doing plenty things first. Brothers and sisters, comrades, I end by reaffirming government's commitment to workers of Grenada, to all workers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. Let us work together to build on the significant progress we have made in the last 20 months. Workers of Grenada, my government looks forward to working with you in continuing to build a stable and harmonious industrial relations climate, one that will result in a productive, resilient, and inclusive labor force. Ultimately, we all want a fair and just society with a decent standard of living and a buoyant economy. So as we journey to the next 50 years, and as we enjoy this period of industrial peace, let us continue to work together to build a nation of which we can all be proud. And with that, I say, long live the working people of Grenada, Carriacou, and the Petite Martinique. Long live the people of Grenada. Forward ever. Forward ever. God bless you all. Enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Back with you in a moment as we share this clip with you.
Hi, hello. I am Super Flying Flynn. It's my first time in New York, coming up for that Spice Mass launch on May the 11th. See you all there. You know what I do. Fly.
The Horner man does pass on the step. Big bride there with no regret. He going and trouble our next man wife. He don't have to hide in the night. Hello, my name is Mr. Elias Inspector Hitman Hurricane Roger Gilbert, one of Grenada's greatest entertainer. And we're talking about Spice Mass Lunch, the New York edition. Yes, Saturday, May the 11th. Last year was crazy. They had to send back people. Not this year because it's bigger venue. For more information, you will get it right here. Yes, and I will be there together with all the kings, queen, Jab, Veko. Man, just name it, you know what Spice Mass is all about. Yes, me, Mr. Elias Inspector Gilbert, will be there. Already. Are you ready?
Spice Mass New York launch, May 11. Elton Palace, 1130, Linwood Street, Robbers will be there. Hold him! And don't forget, she balling out, she back out in hold him!
Buy him! Grab him!
Boom, it's your boy DJ Nodivaz representing for the whole team. It's all about May 11th Spice Mass launch in New York City, so you don't want to miss it. Make sure and get your $50 tickets right now, because you know Nodivaz going to bring you good energy, good vibe, of course, alongside my Grenada's great artists. Make sure and get your tickets and make sure and be there. Spice Mass launch in New York City 2024.
Before we get to the land tenure regularization press conference, we want to just share with you again the report from the FROC. And it is very instructive indeed, and I urge you to pay close attention to the information.
One, Grenada's economy expanded further in 2023, driven primarily by activity in the tourism sector as well as the construction sector. 2, the rate of inflation declined moderately, consistent with global trends. 3, labor market conditions improved as the economy continued to rebound, with jobs being added in tourism and other ancillary sectors. And 4, the domestic banking sector remained stable with high levels of liquidity and relatively low non-performing loans.
The 2023 Fiscal Resilience Oversight Committee's annual report on the performance of the economy during 2023 and the medium-term economic outlook was presented by Leon Bullin, economist at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, during a special press briefing this morning.
The Grenadian economy continued to do well. It had pretty robust economic growth. It was also successful in attracting FDI as it pursued its broader development objectives. And this was also reinforced by increased levels of public sector investments. So on the back of an expanding global economy, in 2023, growth is estimated at 5.5%, following growth of 7.3% in the prior year. And this outturn was shaped by the ongoing robust recovery in the tourism industry, as I mentioned earlier, proxied by the hotel and restaurants, which grew by 15.6%. Construction rose by 12.6%, and transport, storage, and communications by 5.2%. We also saw some positive contribution from education of 3.8%.
They noted, however, that there was some contraction in the agriculture sector of 6%, attributed to adverse weather conditions. He provided context for tourism remaining the driving force of the economy.
Tourism continues to be the key driver of growth in the economy, and this continued to expand in 2023, consistent with the global recovery in the demand for leisure services. Accordingly, total visitor arrivals increased by some 50.7% to 504,403 visitors, relative to 334,799 visitors in the prior year. Importantly here, all the major categories of travelers recorded strong growth, led by cruise passengers, which grew by 64.5%, stayover visitors 33.7%, and yacht passengers 31.1%.
So just what does Grenada's economic future look like?
Economy is projected, we may have been speaking about this, but it is projected to continue to expand in 2024, contingent on greater tourism activity and increased public and private sector construction projects. There are a number of hotel projects underway. There are major public sector projects, the Molyneux Landslip project, another G Cruise project, and other projects underway that should add significantly to the economy. However, it is important to note that there are important risks to the global economy, which could severely impact or negatively impact Grenada's growth trajectory.
Christina John, GBN News.
We are now happy to share with you the rebroadcast of the press conference held on Friday last regarding Land Tenure Regularization Program.
Blessed morning to you, members of the media and the viewing public. I extend a warm welcome to you to this morning's press conference convened by the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Forestry and Marine Resources. My name is Karima Lewis, and I will be guiding you through today's discussion on the Government of Grenada's Land Tenure Regularization Program. In line with the Government of Grenada's steadfast commitment to fostering a sustainable, equitable, and prosperous Grenada for all, and in alignment with its manifesto pledge to initiate a comprehensive program aimed at granting land title to families who have continuously inhabited government lands for residential, agricultural, and commercial purposes for a period exceeding 10 years, significant strides have been taken towards realizing this promise. Today, we are privileged to have with us key figures who play pivotal roles in driving forward this initiative. Joining us are Mrs. Gemma Bain Thomas, Administrative Executive within the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Forestry and Marine Resources, and Mr. Philip Alexander, Technical Specialist in Land Administration at the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Forestry and Marine Resources. To commence our proceedings, I invite Ms. Bean Thomas to provide insights into the project. Ms. Thomas.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lois. Good morning to members of the media, to viewers online here in Grenada and in the diaspora. Thank you for being with us. As Ms. Lois indicated, today is a significant day for the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Forestry, Marine Resources, as we use this occasion to provide details to the nation on the land tenure regularization program and other land-related matters. We all know that matters relating to land and its administration or management always garner the interest of the people, since everyone wants a piece of the land they can call their own, but land is finite. Grenada is 133 square miles, or just over 85,000 acres, with a population of over 112,000. So we can do the math to see how much land is available to each of us. Today we are talking about Crown lands, or lands owned by the government. Government owns just about 10% of the land, with the other 90% being privately owned. So it is only a small portion of the lands that are within the portfolio of the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Forestry and Marine Resources. Crown lands are governed by the Crown Land Act and the Crown Lands Rule, Chapter 73 of the Revised Laws of Grenada 2010. This act provides that the Governor General may, from time to time, grant, sell, exchange, or lease any of the Crown lands or any right or easement in or over them or any of them for such price or consideration or rent and for such estate or term of years and on such conditions and with such reservations, if any, as he or she may think reasonable. In keeping with the Act, over the years, citizens have been allotted Crown lands on terms and conditions that the Ministry considers to be very generous. The lands have been allocated for residential, agricultural, and commercial purposes. Many citizens who have been allotted such lands have paid or are in the process of paying for the lots in accordance with the prices and other terms and conditions approved by Cabinet and in keeping with the Crown Lands rules. In accordance with the rules, citizens who are allotted Crown lands have a period of 12 years to complete payments with a 5% annual interest on the remaining balance owed to the state. Additionally, over the years, citizens without legal authorization and without any formal arrangements to be on Crown lands have taken up residency and have established themselves on these lots of lands, creating what is often referred to as squatters' communities. Squatter communities usually lack planning or adequate physical infrastructure, often creating risk to human health and the environment. Some citizens, on completion of the payments for the lots of Crown lands allotted to them, have received deeds of titles, but the vast majority have not, and therefore this land regularization program is designed to address this vexing issue and to provide deeds of titles on terms approved by Cabinet to citizens legally occupying Crown lands. Citizens legally occupying Crown lands are those who went through the approved application process, for whom there is a cabinet conclusion approving the lot of Crown land in their name, such approval may or may not have been conveyed to them in writing, and they may or may not have commenced payment for the lots allocated. The program will be working from the records at the Lands and Surveys Department. The records are mostly manual, and the opportunity will be taken to develop a computerized system as part of the land tenure regularization program. For citizens occupying Crown lands for a period of 10 years with no legal authorization, that is, no cabinet conclusion or letter of approval, the land tenure regularization program will develop a pathway to legal ownership. This will include documenting the parcel of lands, establishing the size of the lot, developing terms and conditions for legal ownership, and working with them to the point where they can be the legal owner of the plot of land. The land tenure regularization program is a huge undertaking for the ministry and the government. It is a policy directive of the government to provide land titles or deeds of ownership to families and individuals who have been continuously occupying government or Crown lands for residential, agricultural, and commercial purposes for over 10 years. Signifying its commitment, government in the 2023 and 2024 estimates of revenue and expenditure made budgetary allocations for land administration and management and a land tenure regularization program. In the latter part of 2023, the Ministry of Agriculture initiated the process with the surveying of certain Crown lands. We are happy today to announce the full-scale commencement of the land regularization program, formalizing Crown land titles. The program coordinator will provide more details on the administrative setup for the rollout of the program. As I said before, this is a huge undertaking by government and the ministry. In some countries where there is a land regularization program, the process is often externally funded to the tune of millions of dollars. However, this is a homegrown program being implemented by local people using local resources. The implementation of the land tenure regularization program will not be without its challenges. Some of the identified risks and challenges include the lack of cooperation and even legal challenges from some landowners, informal occupants or squatters, or other stakeholders, which may delay the program implementation process. Another risk is inaccurate records, absence of land surveys or mapping errors, technical challenges with data collection, management systems, or documentation processes, and the lack of understanding of the program and thus resistance or opposition from occupants, squatters, or community members. The ministry, however, anticipates a successful implementation of this program over the next 2 or maybe more years. Stakeholder engagements, public relations, education, and sensitization will be a key feature to dispel any negative feelings or information circulated on the program. The success of the land tenure regularization program will depend in part on its acceptance by the populace. The ministry anticipates that there will be full cooperation by the population in the implementation of this program. And this is part of the reason we are here today providing details on the land tenure regularization program. Given the negative impact of the lack of land title by landowners and users, the economic and social benefits of land ownership, and the avenue to transfer generational wealth, this land tenure regularization program is very timely. By granting land titles to people residing on or occupying Crown lands who previously held no title, the project intends to 1. Provide legal recognition and documentation of land ownership to all eligible residents. 2. Enhance land governance and minimize land disputes. 3. Promote socio-economic development through secure land tenure. 4. Foster equity and sustainability in society. And 5. Streamline and regularize land tenure processes in Grenada. This program, when completed, will grant land rights to hundreds of citizens within the Tri-Island state. This significant program will support many Grenadians who have been living or occupying Crown lands without official documentation by ensuring their security of tenure and by helping them adjust to the changing dynamics of development in the age of transformative policies and development. Noting the lack of planning and physical infrastructure on some Crown land settlements, the land tenure regularization program will in some instances work with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Physical Development with a view to enhancing these settlements or developing new settlements. I want to use this opportunity to urge everyone to familiarize themselves fully with the program and to support this effort to formalize Crown land titles. I encourage all occupiers of Crown lands to cooperate with the field officers, other officers, and the ministry in ensuring a smooth and successful implementation of this important and transformative program. Before I close, I just want to touch on one other matter which also touches and concerns Crown lands. In May 2018 and January 2020, the Government of Grenada, via Cabinet conclusions, took the decision to award 2 of our athletes who performed well on the international sporting stage, along with a coach with passes of Crown lands. To date, a deed of title has not been handed over to these sportsmen. I wish to assure these sportsmen that the ministry has now identified the passes of Crown lands and is working towards honoring the commitment made to them. I thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Bean Thomas, for your insights into the program. This program is led by a special team tasked with ensuring that the timeline is met in this initiative. This morning, we are also joined by Ms. Judian Thomas, Program Coordinator for the Land Tenure Regularization Program. At this juncture, we would like to invite her to make some remarks. Ms. Thomas.
The awarding process for the Land Regularization Tenure Program has been successful. So far, management has remunerated 21 field officers, 3 senior field officers, and a consolidative administrative staff, which is inclusive of an IT information technology professionals and technical assistants. The program has facilitated a number of exercises, which includes introduction to the program, customer service and deportment, conflict resolution, and workload and report. In addition, they have been exposed to legislative acts that governs the legitimacy of this project, which is inclusive of the Crown Land Act, Depository Title Act, and anti-squatting regulations. These protective measures were instated to ensure the legitimacy of the project. Training are continuous. This measure is taken to improve and measure the efficacy and the performance we aim to serve the populace of Grenada. We are requesting stakeholders to kindly cooperate as we embark on this journey to provide land security to citizens of our country. The field officers will be strategically zoned and service to the general populace. They'll be undergoing surveys to ensure the legitimacy of the housing systems. Supervisors will be provided for support. We are once again encouraging the general populace to please cooperate so we can secure a successful venture.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. A smooth administrative process is crucial to the success of this initiative. Technical specialist in land administration at the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Forestry and Marine Resources, Philip Alexander, will lend his voice to this cause. Mr. Alexander, the floor is yours.
Greetings to our nation and the people who are listening to us, media, all and sundry. I am very happy today to be sharing in this forum on this issue of land tenure regularization. It's something that is very close to me, and it's something that I think means a lot to the people of Grenada. Coming on the heels of Labor Day, land, labor, and capital working together to change the lives, livelihoods, economic development of the individual families who are going to be directly affected, and improving the land tenure security situation in our country, while at the same time giving the opportunity for wider economic development and advancement of our society. This, in my mind, are the fundamental benefits of economic empowerment of our people and growth in the national economy that this program engenders and offers to the people of Grenada. Grenada has a very unique set of land policy issues. One, we are challenged, as Ms. Bain Thomas indicated, by the number of parcels. For a relatively small country, today we have on our tax roll over 87,000 parcels of land. And we must give credit to the people who have gone before us. And there are three significant events, in my mind, that has given benefits to that effect. One, the Land for the Landless program under the Eric Matthew regime. That significantly impacted the number of families who owned land in Grenada. In the revolution, there was a program called the Idle Lands for the Idle Hands program. Again, that impacted greatly the number of parcels available to ordinary people. And under the Braffett administration, with George Brizan as Minister of Lands, they had the Model Farms program, which significantly and greatly impacted, and more particularly, agricultural uses of land. And those three programs, in my mind, is largely responsible for the land tenure as we have it in Grenada today. What has happened in the ensuing period is some weaknesses in our land administration and management systems. And this is what this program is meant to correct. And we hope that this program will benefit the people that are most needed in the circumstances, because we have today a significant number of persons, large numbers, who have been occupying and utilizing Crown lands and other lands. And those persons have not been in a position to fully optimize the benefit of lands. And that is what this program is about. So I am open and prepared for further questions, and we will make any points necessary that will bring clarity to anybody that has questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alexander. At this moment, we are going to open the floor for questions from members of the media. Before you pose your questions, we kindly ask that you introduce yourself and indicate the media house that you are representing. We do have a question from Mikey Hutchinson. You can go ahead and pose your question.
Good morning to the panelists. So, question is in relations to a timeline. Is there a timeline for the expiration of the extension of the live branch to persons who are squatting or land squat? That's my.
Mikey, can you repeat your question, please?
Okay, sure. Are you able to hear me?
I'm hearing you, yes.
Okay, so is there a timeline for the land tenure regularization program? Does it expire at any point? So does people have like a deadline to regularize their status on those lands, especially those who are squatting?
Okay, so I will answer this question. We indicated that the program will be for about 2 years in the first instance. We propose to deal with the occupiers of Crown land in different categories. So we have those who have completed payments, they will be addressed first. All occupiers of Crown lands who have over the years made all the payments, and we have the records to prove they were given a cabinet, there's a cabinet conclusion, and so they will be the first set of people to be addressed. Then we'll move on to category number 2, which is people who are on Crown lands. They have been legally approved to be there. Some have made payments, but they have not completed. Some have not made payments, although they were given letters of approval with the details of the amount to be paid. This will be category 2. Then we are going to move on to the informal occupants or the squatters who have no legal authority, in the sense that there is no cabinet conclusion, there is no letter of approval. And so within the 2 years, we anticipate that we should be able to deal with these 3 categories of people. However, given the amount of people, and when we go on the ground, when our field officers go on the ground, we might be discovering additional challenges. We are open to the project going on for a 3rd year. But we anticipate within the next 2 years to have everything regularized.
Okay, thanks for that response. A follow-up is, following that 2 or 3 years, as you explained, let's say persons who refuse to, to regularize their status on the Crown lands, what happens then?
Well, we have the Crown Land Act, and the Crown Land Act, and also the anti-squatting regulations. So squatting is not legal, and if you are given an opportunity to regularize yourself, we expect people to come forward, because you are now being given an opportunity to get a title for the land. You'll be given a pathway to legal ownership. So we expect people to come forward. Following that, government has the option to repossess.
Okay,
Any further questions, Mikey?
I'll yield for other questions, and then probably I'll come back again.
Okay, we have a question from Mrs. Rena Pear. You can go ahead and pose your question.
Good morning to the table. Rena Pierre Thomas, GBN News. I just have two questions. The first one, what should persons expect? Should persons who are aware that they are either squatters or maybe they didn't complete their payment, should they come to the Ministry of Agriculture to rectify the issue, or should they expect someone to come to them and let's say address what is happening with the crown lands?
So for the people who have paid and those who have legal authorization, a letter from the ministry, but they may not have completed payment or they may not have started payment, we have records in the ministry, and so we will be reaching out to all these citizens, that is those who have paid or are in the process of paying. These are the ones we have records for. As it relates to the informal occupants, we may or may not have detailed records. And so we know the settlements, we know the government crown lands. Our field officers will be outside there going to these crown lands, speaking to the people, engaging them. We may have individual meetings, we may have community meetings and so forth, encouraging them to register with us so that we can reach the point where we actually work out details with them so as to create that pathway to legal ownership. We may not know all the squatters, so we'll have to detail them as we go along.
Any additional questions from you, Rena?
Did you hear my question?
Can you repeat it, please? Thank you.
What about crown lands that is occupied by a group of number of families? So let's say we know that sometimes these lands are occupied for more than 30 years and it would have been passed on to various number of families, let's say children and grandchildren. How you intend to deal with that?
So the land may have been given to one person. Let's say the grandpa may have been given the land. So the only person who has legal authority over the land is the person to whom the allotment was made, in whose name the allotment was made. So as we go outside there, we anticipate meeting, because of the amount of years that this has been going on, meeting people who may have died and the children, grandchildren, and so they are on the land. There will be a process, because to have a name change, it must be a process going back through cabinet. And so we will have to do all of that. In cases where there are maybe more than one children occupying the land, you will have to have some level of mediation and so as to determine in whose name the land should be. Because when you look at it, you might have a quarter acre of land and 2 or 3 houses on the quarter acre of land. Is this ideal? Is this the type of settlement that we want? Is this the type of conditions that we want our people to be living on? And even as we go through the settlements, as I said in my presentation, you might notice a lack of planning, of physical planning, and you need to rearrange so that you have proper road to the land, proper amenities, so that you can have access and people could have a better quality of life. So that it may mean that you have to encourage, if you have maybe 4 or 5 children on a piece of land, you may have to encourage some maybe to resettle somewhere else so as to create a nice, decent, well-ordered settlement. And that is why we are going under the slogan, formalizing Crown land titles. So we are not just giving title, but we are trying to create some nice formal settlements for these occupants.
Thank you.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
If that's okay. We've noticed that squatters, well, we get a sense that most of the squatters are persons who may not be able to afford to pay for the land or have difficulty in paying for the land. Now, recently we had an amnesty where persons were given the opportunity to get rid of their increase or burden of money that they have to pay for the land. How is the program going to help these individuals or work with these individuals to pay for the land when they get the documents?
Well, based on the act, the current act, you have 12 years to pay for the land, and there's a 5% interest. From the records at the ministry, because of lack of payment, some people interest is more than the original cost of the land. And so the issue of waiver of interest will come up. Waiver of interest could only be done by the cabinet. So we will have to make recommendations to cabinet as it relates to waiver of interest. But land always appreciates. So someone would have gotten a piece of crown land maybe 10, 15 years ago and paid $12,000 for that piece of crown land. But the interest maybe is worth maybe they owe $20,000 for it now. But if you look at the market value of that piece of land, it may well worth $50,000 because land appreciates. So we will have to deal with issues of waiver on a case-by-case basis. As it relates to the squatters, there are a lot of squatters who are gainfully employed. Yes, there may be those who, for whatever reason, may be unemployed and are unable to meet the cost. That will be addressed. But a number of the people who are on crown lands without legal authorization are gainfully employed, and a payment plan could be worked out. We, however, are of the view at the program, at the land regularization program, that notwithstanding the provisions of the Crown Lands Act for 12 years of payment, that it might be in the interest of people to pay off earlier. Don't delay to wait 12 years to get your deed and title. And people who are able to do it, will encourage them, if you can pay off now, pay off, and you get your deed and title immediately, because this paper in your hand opens avenues for you for economic and social development.
Thank you for your question, Rena. Ms. Linda Straker, you are free to ask your question.
Good morning, and thank you very much. My question has to do with in the opening statement, Mrs. Bain Thomas mentioned that of all the land in Grenada, the government or the state just own 10% of that land. Can she tell us how much of that 10% government intend to keep to itself in the interest of forest reserve and watershed areas, water protection, to ensure that there is we have water, and to give like gifts, like how she mentioned about the sporting athletes? How much of that 10% government intend to keep for itself?
I can assist in answering this question, Ms. Straker. Greetings. First of all, the government of Grenada wishes to encourage ownership of land title in Grenada, and that is what this program is all about. With a 10% current ownership, a large part of that 10% is in this form of, as you mentioned correctly, forest reserve, and we do have several, including the Granitang and the dry forests in other parts of the country, in Livera and so. So you have a significant portion of that 10% in those holdings. You do have other large holdings like the state farms, which also form a significant part of that 10%. So you have a limited amount of that 10% that is available for other uses. Those other uses is probably where we would be best able to help. One, we have significant or relatively large amounts of land that are already allocated to persons or to the people in different sectors. They might be residential, they might be agricultural, they may be even commercial. Those tracts of land and their regularization is what this program is mainly meant to help people to release that latent value and latent advantages that are currently underutilized in these parcels of land. So the program is meant mainly to empower those occupants and to help them to release that capital value that is latent in those parcels of land, and not necessarily in and of itself to reduce from that 10%, because we want to keep as much land in state occupation. And you must have recognized that in a recent past, the government of Grenada has made it a policy position in the Grand Anse and on the Grand Anse Beach not to sell freehold title, but to enter into leases in order to retain as much of the freehold title in the state as we speak.
Ms. Straker, do you have an additional question?
Yes, I do have a follow-up. I didn't get the answer I want, whether the cabinet has decided we're going to have 5 or 10%, but be that as it may. You see, I asked that question from the background of the government of Grenada signing various environmental conventions, giving a commitment, in some cases I think up to 25%, to be as forest reserve, watershed area, places just to protect our environment with all the technicalities that goes with it. That was the background for that question. My other question has to do now with Mrs. Bain Thomas mentioned in responding to another question about if an area is too tightly packed and maybe children or people may have to relocate. In coming up with that, has the cabinet or the government already decided where can be some of the new human settlement areas? Because we're doing a project for 2 years that may impact some people that has to relocate. During that period, where are you going to, has the cabinet decide where they could be relocated to?
Not as yet. In a recent symposium that we had, we looking at Crown Lands and the Crown Lands Act. One of the recommendations from the participants was that government should maybe seek to acquire more lands. This is something we are in the process of submitting that report to cabinet, and it's something that they will have to seriously consider. But we do not have a decision from cabinet as yet as to where we can relocate some of the settlements. As we said, going back to the availability of Crown lands, even as we speak now, there are a lot of applications on file for Crown lands, but we cannot address them because of the limited amount that we have. So once the land regularization process is completed, we may be able to identify Crown lands that are available and that could be made available to nationals looking for land. Grenada is very mountainous. The whole interior of the land of the island is mountains, and our forest reserves and all of these take up a lot. So there's not really much left for government to allocate to people.
Just as a follow-up to that, within that 2-year period, I expect quite a significant number of people to come in. What would happen to people who are currently building homes on the fringes of forest reserve area or right into it, as well as places like public places owned by the state, like cemeteries and so. What will happen to these people? Would they get the title deed, or would they be asked to relocate? Close to pastures and things like that.
It depends. A lot will depend on the land area, the uses the land is being put to, and also consideration will be given to the land use policy. As you may be aware, there is a land use policy that was approved in 2021, I believe, but has not been implemented. We are in the process of reviewing that land use policy because there were gaps that were identified in the policy. And so that land use policy would also impact on the uses of the land and where we can have residential, agricultural, and so lands. So we anticipate by the end of this year to have a functional land use policy, and it will impact on lands that are made available for housing or agriculture.
In the cost to the people who are we now going to call loose squatters, would it be government will sell it to them at the original cost it was then, or are they going to now have to pay market value cost? So, well, let me use an example. 30, 40 years ago, somebody there was a cabinet conclusion to sell it later at $1.50. That person failed to complete and didn't get it for the 12-year period. That value now, based on where it is located, the value of it might be at $5 a square foot. What will government be charging that person? The original cost or the value now?
So for persons who have letters from the ministry indicating the cost that government would have approved the land for, that stands. However, the interest may have accumulated on that land. For the informal people who we intend to regularize, they have no letters, and so a determination will be made as to the current cost at which the land will be offered to them for sale.
Thank you, Ms. Draco, for your questions. Mr. Hutchinson,
can I just
do you
get
have
a
another
clarity?
question?
Yeah, just a clarity. So
I have a
if a person got it at 150, all they now have to pay is the 150 value and the interest, or there will be another value?
No, we stick by what is in the agreement plus the interest. We are in effect applying the Crown Lands Act. And this is what the Act says, and so we are following through.
Thank you, Ms. Draco. Mr. Hutchinson, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you again. So I know it's a lot of legal terminologies, and I need a little bit of clarity on what we would define occupying as.
So occupying is they are on the land, they may have built a house, they have been living there for, as the government policy is 10 years. They may have been cultivating the land for maybe about the same amount of 10 years and so. So they are in actual, like you're in possession without owning.
Okay. And the last question that I have, do you have requirements in terms of who can acquire, for want of a better word, the Crown lands? Is it that you have to be from a low-income family, or it doesn't matter your economic status? Anyone who falls within the category of occupying lands for more than 10 years, etc., qualify to occupy?
The Crown Land Act describes who could apply. It's generally from low-income families. And most of the people we have on the Crown lands are generally within that category. You may have one or two exceptions to the rule, but most are within the low-income category.
Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mikey. Do we have any other questions from other members of the media?
Yes, what's the cost of this project to the government of Grenada?
So the budget we have to take us to the end of this year is just about $1 million.
Is that it, Ms. Draker?
So the budget this year is just to cover $1 million targeted in the 2024 budget for that project.
If you go to the budget, you will see that there is an allocation in the capital estimates under the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands for $250,000 for land regularization and $250,000 for land administration and management. So currently we have just about $500,000 budgeted. But in putting the project together, we recognize that it would entail much more than what has been budgeted. So the budget so far is about $1 million, and we expect to ask for supplementary appropriation to be able to cover it if we are not able to find monies within the ministry's budget.
And the total number of staff for that project is much?
The total amount of staff is just about 25? About 25. We have about 18 field officers. We are operating in teams of 2 because you're going to people's home to talk about lands, and so we do not want one person to go on their own. So we have 3 teams of 6. So that's 18, and then 3 senior field officers. Then we have the program coordinator, secretary for the program coordinator, a data entry, 2 data entry officers, and IT personnel. Because at the end of the day, we intend to have a computerized system. So that takes us just about 25.
How is that project overlapping on the agriculture census?
It has nothing to do with the census. The agriculture census is about agricultural crops and so outside there. This one is specific to land.
So the agriculture census has no question about the ownership of the land?
They will ask some question, but remember, with the lands, what we are looking for is mostly residential, but they are mostly looking at agricultural lands. Yes, you will ask about the ownership because you want to know how many farmers own the land that they are working, how many are leasing the lands, and how many are just, informal farming on somebody else's land. But we do not see a major overlap.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, we will ask the panelists to just give us some final remarks as we wrap up this morning's proceedings. We will begin with Mr. Talsford. Mr. Alexander, sorry.
Thank you very much. What I would want to encourage at this time is as many persons to take advantage of this opportunity to empower themselves, because if we bring land, labor, and capital together, you can change your economic livelihood, your status in life, through the use of lands that you're currently occupying and you may or may not have the appropriate title. So it can amount to some capital investment and growth opportunities for many citizens. So please make yourself available and utilize the opportunity that is given to you. Thank you.
Yes, I'm encouraging the general public to kindly cooperate with our staff they will be properly identified. They will be wearing a uniform with a logo, as well as every staff member will be recognized with an ID. So we're asking that you please cooperate. We are here to help you. We'll use whatever tools and resources necessary in order to ensure that Grenadians situate land security. Thank you.
Mrs. Bain Thomas.
So I want to thank our media people for being here with us today. I want to thank you for your questions. And I want to encourage all persons who are currently occupying government lands, whether for agricultural or residential purpose, or even some commercial purpose, to cooperate fully with the field officers, with our team who are outside there. You can contact us at the Ministry of Agriculture and let us work together so that you can benefit. The program is towards you, the people. At the end of the day, a land title is very important in ensuring your economic and social protection. So let's work together. We will be doing a lot of public relations, a lot of education and sensitization. Listen for the programs, ask questions, educate yourself, obtain copies of the Crown Land Act, the Anti-Squatting Act, the Possessory Title Act, all of these, and let us discuss and let us work together to the successful implementation of the Land Tenure Regularization Program.
Thank you to our panelists, and a special thank you to you, members of the media and the viewing public, for joining us this morning. This brings the curtains down on this morning's proceedings. Do have yourself a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining the Heartbeat today, and join us again next Sunday when we would have other interesting episodes to share with you. Have a great Sunday afternoon. See you again next week. Goodbye.